All right. Hello. My name is Brian Heesung Kim. I am the creator of the Data Analyst Augmentation Framework, or DAAF, which is an open source, extensible workflow for Claude Code that allows skilled researchers to rapidly scale their expertise and accelerate data analysis by as much as 5 to 10 times without sacrificing the transparency, the rigor, or the reproducibility demanded by our core scientific principles and just good research. There's a lot in that statement. There's a lot that I mean when I say that. And I want to be really, really upfront in saying that I know that sounds ridiculous to some people. I know some people will be really skeptical about this, but as an extremely careful and cautious person when it comes to new technologies and new tool sets, I really do mean that that is possible right now with this tool set for a lot of researchers probably listening to this right now. Now, I have a lot written online. I'm going to put a link to the full sort of summary of what I'm trying to do here and what it means, I think, in the description of this video. And then really importantly, I have a ton of educational materials that I've put together for the purpose of helping people understand this tool set, how to use it. How do you even use Claude Code? What does that even mean? And what are the trade-offs? What are the things to be aware of when thinking about using AI LLM assistance in research workflows? There's a lot going on here. So all to say, I've put all of that together. This video is actually really mostly intended to show you what does it look like when you use DAAF, the Data Analyst Augmentation Framework. What exactly does it look like to talk with Claude Code, and how does it actually help you do research? There are a couple of different ways to engage with the system that I've designed really deliberately. And so I want to show you what those look like kind of step by step in sequence, just to give you a sense of why would you even care about this, and why would you think that this is anything other than AI slop. And so what I'll show you on screen is everything. I'm going to cut over basically some of the big gaps in time. Like sometimes it takes like 20, 30 minutes to do X, Y, or Z. We don't have time for that right now. So I'm going to cut some of those waiting periods out, but I will show you pretty much every single interaction that I have with Claude over the course of these 3 different processes. And I really encourage you as I go through, I've sped up a bunch of stuff here because we want to keep this to about 10 minutes. But essentially, you can look and pause at any point in this video, and I want you to look and read some of the things that it's saying. I want you to really pay attention to how it phrases things, how it frames things, how it thinks about data. With DAAF, Claude Code is kind of shockingly competent in thinking carefully about the nuance of data. Missingness, year coverage, misalignment in interpretation. Lots of the things that we really need to care about as data analysts and researchers and data scientists and social scientists, it's really capable of putting together. The first mode is the targeted assist mode. This is a really quick data documentation question, something with a pretty clear answer, something that's pretty straightforward. Hey, I'm interested in this variable. Tell me a little bit more about it. Tell me about the years that this thing is available for. Tell me about, exactly what variables describe year in this data set. And you'll see here that it's kind of talking me through a couple of different year variables actually in the same data set and trying to help me make sure that I understand the distinguishing factors between each of them. Pretty interesting. Now, we go kind of one step higher in abstraction, which is the discovery mode. This is when you ask it a broad data scoping question. I'm just generally interested in a poverty measure about schools. Tell me more about the options. It can be vague. It's going to dive into as many different data documentation sources as it needs to try and understand what are the options available here. And it's going to really parse through sort of the trade-offs, the differences between them, and present to you some set of information summarized, synthesized to help you understand it. And you'll see on screen here that essentially it's picked out a bunch of different school poverty measures to help me think about, oh, here are these different trade-offs. Here are some of the things to be thinking about. And here are some of the ways that they should each be used and should not each be used. You can see it even makes kind of a nice little table. And for the purposes of this, I was like, okay, cool. Bunch of different options. I want to know more about this particular measure, the MEPS or MEPS, which is actually a measure created by the Urban Institute. And we'll talk more about that in a second. All of the data sets that are currently built into DAAF are Urban Institute Education Data Portal data sets, which is essentially 40 of the most important public education data sets that are out there right now, nicely compiled. And so here you'll see that it's telling me a lot more about the methodology of this particular measure, and it's giving me a lot of information. It also linked to a particular paper. I wanted to make sure that it was a real paper. I looked it up. It is a real paper. It's an Urban Institute technical paper about that exact measure. And so it is the case that it's thinking carefully about these things. It is the case, and you should go back, rewind, pause, look at it, that it's really, I think, doing a pretty good job of trying to pay attention to and communicate some of the nuance in the data. Now, mode 3, the full pipeline, this is the one that I think people are going to get really surprised by and excited about. You can kind of ask it an arbitrarily complicated or nuanced research question. I would pause it and see what I typed. This is not like a super easy, well-defined research question. It's descriptive, but it's pretty complicated. I'm asking it some pretty abstract questions. And so it's going to try and put together a plan, basically. It's going to start by saying, hey, here's some of the things that I'm thinking you probably want, and you can clarify. I'm going to say, hey, I'm not so interested in regression analysis per se right now. Let's put that on the side. Keep it, but let's put that on the side. And then it's going to say, okay, cool. Now that we've got a general scoping idea, it's going to go dig into the data. It's going to figure out of the data that's available, what's actually going to help us address the research questions at play here. And then let's kind of come up with a more in-depth plan for how we can make sure that we can answer this research question. It's going to come back to me, and you'll see this here, with a bunch of information about a bunch of different potential ways to get at this question. And it's going to ask me some questions. It's going to present some limitations. It's going to ask for some decisions. And once it has that input, it can then create an extremely in-depth analytic plan. That's kind of the next big step and phase of this. It really needs to then think carefully about, okay, we know all the data. How exactly do we get to the end analytic products? And that's what this plan document is. It's kind of the sort of core of what makes DAAF work and how it works with a bunch of different agents in the background working together on the same project. They all reference this big document that's put together that tries to capture literally every single step of the data pipeline process that needs to happen. Every single transformation, every single key detail, a bunch of limitations, all of the variables that we need to think about, and so on. I'm allowed to review that closely, and then if it looks good, I tell it to go. Give it a couple hours, and it's going to work through every single step of that pipeline extremely carefully, because it'll code in Python first. And then once that Python code is run, it actually appends execution logs to the scripts, so you can see exactly what code is written and exactly what it saw when it ran those scripts. Not only that, but those files all get reviewed by another LLM code review agent to make sure, like, hey, did this really think through things? Are there ways that this could have gone wrong? It's adversarial. After all of that, it eventually gets a report. It puts together a really coherent report with a lot of data visualizations as well. And you can see here that there's this big report file that I'm going to scroll through. It's got a bunch of stuff going on here. I'm going to link all of the project files that Claude Code with DAAF put together for this exact video, this exact query. All of these files are going to be linked in the description below, so you can review everything at your own leisure. This is not perfect. There are a lot of things about this that I'm like, it's not really that good. Like, this isn't a really great way to talk about this thing. Some of the regression analysis stuff seems a little bit haphazard. But to be clear, the fundamentals of what's happening here, and I'm showing you scripts on screen right now, of the data analysis pipeline, of the way that it checks all of the data processes, all of the sort of transformations, all of the things that it does to make sure audit-wise that it's kind of trying to do the right thing. To the extent that it's not doing something perfectly at this stage, it is intervenable. You can go back to it and say, hey, I didn't like how you did this thing. I didn't like how you talked about this thing. As the human expert, I'm able to steer it in a way that, no, it's not perfect the first try, but it is pretty close the first try. And the amount of effort that it takes with DAAF to get it to a pretty strong final product is much lower than I think sort of vibe coding or going straight with regular Claude Code. That's kind of the big value add of DAAF in particular. Not only that, but the really cool thing is once an analysis is done, and you'll see I'm doing this on screen, you can kind of ask it for arbitrary additional deliverables, analyses, and so on. Here I am asking it for just an interactive dashboard, helping me kind of dig into some of the different institutions in the analysis in an interactive way. And in, I don't know, it was like 10 minutes, I have an interactive dashboard. It's not like amazing. It's not going to knock anyone's socks off, but it's an interactive dashboard that would have taken another person probably another 2 or 3, 4 days of focused work to put together, depending on how competent they were with a particular dashboard style. But here it is immediately. And any edits that I want to make to this are 1 or 2 sentences of typing away. So I think there's a lot here. If you're interested in engaging, please read the full repository. There's a lot of information in there that I think covers probably a lot of questions you currently have, hopefully at least communicates to you all my positions and where I'm coming from in doing this, and hopefully sets us up to have really important, valuable conversations as critical consumers of research in general, but also AI-assisted research going forward. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sticking with it. And I look forward to hearing from people because I really want to have these conversations and I really want as many people as possible to be prepared and armed with the knowledge they need to be a part of those conversations. So looking forward to it.